Hello, welcome back to my channel. I am Magda. Today, I have a special topic to discuss. But before I get into the topic, I have a quick question to ask you. Are you constantly wondering why you're not obtaining any interviews, although you are qualified for the positions? If your answer is yes, it's probably your resume. I've been contacted by professionals requesting feedback and input to why they weren't called for an interview, even though they qualified for the position. Usually, when I run an audit, I find out that their resume was not showing their qualifications the way it should have been highlighted. In today's video, I'll be focusing only on this one issue and how taking an effective improvement to your resume will allow you to be one step closer to achieving your career goals. And before I go to discuss details, I would like to ask you these questions. And if you answer no to any of them, I would advise you to have a look at your resume and have an audit done before you apply to the next job. Question number 1. Does your resume include a career summary and areas of expertise section? Are any of your accomplishments quantified? Does your resume include power words? Is it also ATS friendly, or is it application tracking system friendly? If you answer no to any of these questions, I advise you to stay with me and watch the next video as I will be highlighting on it. As we all know, the global coronavirus pandemic have caused substantial employment disruption. Especially as of April 2020, more than 22 million just in the US have filed for unemployment benefits. But sooner or later, the jobs lost during this economic downturn will come back over time. And when we wait for the recovery time, this is the time where we can get ready to take immediate effective action by paying close attention to our career management and strategizing and investing time to apply tactical preparation. One of the first things you can work on is your resume. You may ask why? Because your resume is your introduction to your potential employer, and making this first impression really counts, and it will determine whether the employer wants to interview you or not. So my advice is for you to take time to revise your resume until it tells the right story about your career and how you can do the job that the employer is looking to fill. And I'll break this into 5 pointers. So the first pointer that I would like to mention, and very important one, is put the customer first, or the company's need, which means read the job description properly. We all think of our resume from the point of view of what we want, because that is what we think is important. However, to the hiring team or the recruiters, they're only interested in what is value to them, how your skills match what is in the job description. So when you think of your resume, you should think of your story. It is a story, but it's not the story of your life. What you want, what you think is important, but when you sit down to write your resume, first understand what your customer wants to read. Let's take an example. If the company is looking to hire a project manager, the resume should be geared to a project manager role only. Of course, your previous accomplishments also matter, but it should never take the lead in this resume if it does not add much value to it. For example, when we immigrate, we usually tend to take a different career path. And if you were a professor, let's say back in your country, but now you are in IT, it's good to mention your past experience somewhere where you make it applicable to what is now. If not, it should not take the majority of your resume or your story, as it will make the resume almost irrelevant to what the hiring team is looking for, and sometimes it might actually backfire. So your resume needs to tell a story fitted to the reader's interest. Open with a strong story that tells how your skills fit to the employer's job opening, and you will grab the reader's attention right away. But if you fail to do so, even if they would stumble upon your resume by accident, it will end up being sent to a queue and it will never get reviewed. Number 2 main point is target job title. So the question I have is, when you are writing a resume, are you looking quickly to sparkle hire manager's interest? If the answer is yes, then you will need to target job title that echoes the words and intent of the job description you collected when you go over a target job. So what I'm trying to say is that your target job title can make or break your resume. I will give you an example. For example, when we plan to watch a movie or read an article, what really grabs our attention usually is if the title looks interesting. Then we're hooked and we all can follow the story all the way through. And on the other hand, if there is a book with no title, majority of us, we would not even look at that book. So the same idea applies to your resume. With the right title and strong opening section and a compelling story that entices readers from the start, your resume is more discoverable. And that's when it could get discoverable in database search and lets the readers immediately focus on what you're trying to say. So majority people that request resume review or audit, they come without a target job title on their resume. I see a lot of people mistaking the objective for a title, but these are two different things. When a recruiter is given a job description, the first thing they look at is the title, because that's the first key point they use to start a database search. I assure you that no recruiter has ever done a database search with objective as a search term. So the key message here is giving your resume a target job title as a headline, one that matches with the job title that the recruiters are plugging in to look for the resumes. So some example of titles could be a project manager, data analyst, human resources manager. These are titles. So the second point I would like to make is after the target job, the next part is performance profile summary or performance profile. This is the section next to the title, and it's very important. This is where you can write a short paragraph that tells what you bring to the table to meet the employer's major needs, or we can call them must-haves. Stick to job-related skills and experience, keeping objectives to a minimum in using verbs, which communicate action. Start your sentences with action words whenever you can. Also keep it short because dense blocks make reading harder, and when it gets longer, it kind of be a little bit distractive. So try to make it a very short, readable summary. And on this example, you can see that the candidate has his title really bolded and nicely written as a senior project manager. And the sentence for the summary started with certified project management professional with 11 years of demonstrated success. Just by reading this, we know this candidate is certified and his experience is quantified. He said 11 years. So the next sentences that you see, expertise in analysis, project scoping, business modeling, he is breaking down really power words that would entice the reader to continue to know what else the candidate has done or where these skills has been applied. Next comes professional skills. This is where you list all the skills you identified in your target job description. Of course, these skills have to be true, but you can use the job description that you are looking at as a guide to get the target wording. So you can list the skills you bring to your work that support the statement that you will be making in the later section. So make sure you prioritize the skills so the most important comes first. The fourth step is professional experience. As you detail your work experience, continue to focus not so much on what you've done and what you think is important, but on your abilities that are specific to the needs of the posted job. Repeat each of the phrases from your professional skill section, which we discussed earlier, within the description of your past jobs. This will make it easier for the reader to continue to connect the dots. Use bold font to draw attention to what is most important. Your job title, for example, here you can see ABC Corp, and you should also describe what the company does. Short and focused. So as you can see, after the ABC Corp, we described what the company does, and we can do this in a very short and clear manner. Then right below, as you can see here, it says account manager. That's the title of your job. And as you can see next to it, that's the most recent employment. Below that goes to the next and next. So you will describe the responsibilities under each of your job title, working backward from your current title. and you can give examples of accomplishment in each position. So by doing this, you are encouraging a reader to call you for an interview by telling what you've done but not explaining. You are creating a reason for starting a conversation. So we can also add other subheadings such as special skills, performance highlights, and so on. But for today, since we can't cover everything in one video, I will leave this out I will do part 2 and part 3 coming videos in the near future. The next thing I would like to mention is chronology. Your work history should start with your most recent job and work backwards. Make sure each entry emphasizes relevant experience, contributions, and achievements. This can include endorsements of your work, if they're relevant, obviously, but anything that looks unnecessary, feel free to leave it out, as you don't want the resume to be too long. As far as chronology, you can see this candidate has his resume perfectly laid out. There is nice bulletin, and I can see from the get-go how he managed a 10 million budget of monitoring expenditure. So he definitely has a good layout that can catch readers' attention. The next part that comes is education. Your education record usually comes at the end of the resume, and you can start with your highest level of education. You should also include professional courses or any type of accreditations that you have that will support your candidacy. The final part is reference. Never list reference on your resume. Employers assume that your references are available, but it certainly doesn't hurt to end with a kind of bold statement. Only mention that your references will be available upon request, and that will be enough. So to conclude, after you watch this video, I want you to take yourself some time to review your resume. Ask yourself, does my resume tell the right story? Not any or all story, but the right one. Next, I want you to rewrite, polish, and revise your resume. When you do that, regularly refer to your target job you're planning to apply. Make sure you clearly outline the story which is unique to your resume. When you feel the story that you're telling is clearly focused and complete, review it against these questions. Are my statements relevant to the target job? Also, check if you have repeated yourself or if repetition is redundant. Also, make sure every paragraph is focused on the employer's need, which is the requirement of the job. Before you finish editing, go over it a couple times and ask yourself if you have to cut any sentence or if you can shorten a long sentence, because short sentences pack more punch and it makes your resume much more attractive. Well, that's all for today. Resume topic could be very long and could be detailed even further. Be on the outlook for part 2 and part 3 videos in the near future. Until then, thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. If you subscribe, you will get notification when the next video gets posted. See you on the next post. Have a wonderful day and stay safe.